So let's start to talk about training specifically. You're here in order to get things accomplished. The training is a tool that we want to be really specific with in order to make sure that your goals and the stimulus are in line. Now, we've talked about some of the ways with which we'll read programming. We've even talked about tempo, which is one variable that we'll try to control in order to get you a certain type of stimulus. Another thing that we want to talk about is what's called a rate of perceived exertion, or RPE for short. Now, intensity is a word that is used a lot that isn't typically defined. And so I want to define it for you really quick so you understand what it means. Intensity isn't some vague concept, it's a formula. Intensity equals work. Work is force times distance. And so when you take work and you divide it by time, you get power. Now, the reason that we're talking about that is the ability to generate high power or low power, as it's specifically defined, can rate a workout higher in intensity or lower in intensity. And here's where your understanding of this becomes paramount. There are workouts with which we will ask you to attempt to achieve the highest rate of perceived exertion you can, because we want that activity to be very intense. We want intensity because we want work. We want work because we want there to be a certain type of energy that you use in order for you to get the response that we want out of that workout. Here's all you need to know. There's a 10-point Likert scale for what we call a rate of perceived exertion. So as an example, if we were going to just hop on an exercise bike and you were instructed to go at a pace that was about a 7 on the RPE scale, or about 70% effort, it means that you could probably sustain that definitely more than like 10-20 seconds. Now let's use another example. Say your coach said, I want you at a 10 RPE. I want you at 100% effort. Before you even look at what the specific exercise, what the time duration is, you already know that that's not sustainable. And so if you're ever asked, which I'll be honest with you, you rarely are, but if you're ever asked for a really high level of RPE, like a 9, then you can expect it to not be very long lasting. And the whole reason that we use this scale is to try to make the training that we give you exactly what we intended. Now, if you've never done this before, it takes some trial and error. I like to say that exercise is kinetic problem solving, and a lot of times you fail the problem. But don't take RPE out of context of what it means. Your technique is always priority number one. Your intensity is only secondary to that. So you can look at this charter whenever we exercise. We first want to do the mechanics the best that we know how. We want to consistently do that. And then we'll advocate for this rate of perceived exertion or intensity only after those two things are there. So RPE, it's a nice 50-cent word you can use at your next dinner conversation. It's also some of the ways that we'll try to advocate different levels of intensity.